Hey team, welcome to the latest episode of Accidental Business Owners. The premise of the show is that last year, Seamus and I ditched our 9-to-5s to go all in on the podcast and thought it would be interesting to document our journey. Last year, we also started working with a business and mindset coach, Di Foster, who you might remember as a B2B guest, and quickly realized she was the perfect foil to help us work through all the highs and lows of running a business. As always, these one-on-ones are quite raw and have a bit of depth, so I hope you get something out of it. Accidental Business Owners is sponsored by Icehouse. Icehouse is a community for Kiwis wanting to take their business to the next level. Their practical programs, one-on-one business coaching, and short workshops are designed specifically for people who own and manage their businesses and the leaders they back to get things done. To learn more, visit theicehouse.co.nz.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Di.
How you doing?
Yeah, good. Always a little bit intimidated with the one-on-ones, but here we are.
Here we are, and it's like directly looking at you.
I know.
There's no getting away.
No, we're in, locked in.
I got a wee question for you. Do you know what date it is?
Do I? 27th of March?
Yeah, well done. Do you know what that means?
No.
We are like a couple of days away from the end of the financial year.
Oh, yeah, I do know that.
Yeah. Isn't that exciting?
Is it? I don't know. Is it exciting?
Yeah,
Yeah?
100%. Because that means that we're almost through the first 3 months of the year and we're about to start a new financial year. So I don't know about you, but I always think, how are we doing?
Yeah.
Goals.
Yeah. Are you asking me how I'm doing?
Yeah. Like if we think about our goals for the year or our goals for last year or like how's the first 3 months gone? How are we going?
Yeah, cool. Good. Really, really good.
The golf handicap?
Good. That is good. Yeah, with progress on the golf scene. Shout out Club Room for the new clubs.
If you didn't listen to previous episodes, it's not actually about.
No,
it's not got nothing to do with actually the golf handicap. It's to do with the time and space.
Yes, that's my escape
to play golf.
So I left the Herald full time in February of last year. So it's been just over a year since we've been out on our own, and I spent a bit of time over the last few weeks reflecting on the start of the year and the goals with the new financial year. We had a 90-minute session with our accountant, Maddie Hinton, yesterday and sort of forecasts.
Shout outs to Maddie Hinton.
Shout out to Maddie Hinton. He's amazing. But it's all beyond my wildest dreams of where we are. Like, it's such a feeling of accomplishment of what the next year is looking like, of the sponsorships we have locked in, the financial security for both Seamus and I providing for family, blah, 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 is great. So I've got these goals and I've even tinkered with them. Like you asked me to sort of come with my goals, and I wrote these goals down a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I've had to alter them because I've sort of pushed the numbers up on all fronts.
Yeah, good.
Which is cool.
So let's drill down into some of the business goals because, we had a bit of a, thrash round of the personal ones. So let's have a bit of a chat about the business goals. So specifically, are you tracking the goals? Are you do you feel that there's an overall plan to achieve them?
No.
We just
and I know exactly where you're going, and I'm going to do a scoreboard, right? Like a chart that keeps track of all the different things and the scores and how well I'm doing on each one. Yeah.
So I want to break it down. I want to break down kind of like this year and say, tell me, have we got a revenue goal for this year?
Yes.
And what are the inputs that go into achieving that revenue goal? Well, first of all, are we on track with that?
Yeah, we are.
So possibly not so important, like in terms of you've done the things to get the revenue, so that's a lower priority.
Yeah, it would be because of the start of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I want to focus on when we talk about a scoreboard, it's not so much. Of course, we're going to track sales to make sure that, they're ticking along month by month. But what I'm interested in is making sure that we understand what the levers of the business are. And in order to understand what the levers of the business are, we need to understand kind of like where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
So where overall, do you think you're going with the business? Like, what are the most important things from now to the end of the year that you want to focus on specifically?
So specifically, we want to continue growing the podcast download numbers, right?
Yep.
So we have around 180,000 downloads a month.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get that to 250 by the end of the year. I want to increase our listenership. I want more people to know about us.
Perfect.
How do we do that? By maintaining or improving the quality of what we do and not letting the standards drop, so that when people hear about us or listen to us, whether it's a long form episode or ambassadors or an accidental business owner, it's good and they come back and they become a listener for life.
What else affects the downloads?
Our choice of guests, the direction, the editorial direction we go, the marketing around what we're putting out.
Yep.
The production values, YouTube, we're putting a lot of investment into building our YouTube space because it's a whole new audience there.
Cool. Some of those are kind of like a little bit on the soft side, like they're quite hard to sort of measure. It's just that's standard, isn't it? Like you have a standard that you want to keep reaching to. Do you feel that any of those need time and attention, or do you think that it's just the time and space and the expectation that you're going to keep growing that's important?
No, I think we can reinvest in marketing. Marketing has been the best use of our resource getting started. And I think I might have talked about this in a previous episode, but like when we were not taking any money, I think 75% of our monthly revenue we were paying to Marcus and marketing, and that has been huge. And we're at a place now where I think we need to reevaluate if we can go more. Like, what would it look like to double down on marketing? Like, what would the payoff be?
Okay, this is super interesting. So last year, when we had our first advisory meeting, we were actually supposed to have a marketing section. Has there been any meeting since then around marketing?
Yep.
Okay. Look at like strategically, like stepping back and saying, where do we want to go?
No. But it's in the process.
Okay.
So we're doing a whole brand redesign. We did a photo shoot yesterday where, different a different strategy for each show. Between TBS podcast, ambassadors, accidental business owners, how it looks, how it shapes. Is that what you're meaning?
Yeah, no, this is super interesting. So we haven't had this conversation. We haven't talked about any of this, have we?
No.
That's kind of interesting to me that you wouldn't have touched base with me on that and said, like, I'm super interested to know, like, the background behind that. Because you know how when we talk about, direction and strategy and all that sort of stuff, like what's the strategy thinking behind this? Like you say, yep, we're doing a rebrand and that, and it's like, have we paused and said, this is what we're trying to achieve here?
No.
Interesting.
No, we haven't. And I think to some extent it's because I trust Marcus so much that I think he knows, but I don't think that is the right way to think about it, in the conversation we had about actually taking ownership and actually knowing.
Because even from my point of view, from accidental business owners' point of view, I'm like, whoa, can we ask, can you tell me what direction you think you're going?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's kind of important. So you know how we talked about taking the team along with you? It's like, if you have that vision of exactly where you want this podcast to go, and it is the engine of, a lot of the stuff that you do, it's like, let's just pause for 2 seconds. Where is that going?
It's a really interesting conversation about this show. I love this show. I don't know where it's going. If you ask me what this show is going to look like in 12 months' time, I don't know.
That is so interesting. Because,
do you?
Well, no, it's interesting because from my business point of view, I have a strategy this year to make sure that I'm super set up regardless of where this goes. Because my relationship with you guys has been a big part of my growth and my profile. And so I have a really, really clear strategy with my team this year to make sure that we take control of, or we have a very, very clear direction for me in my personal brand, regardless of what happens, because I don't know either.
Yeah, it's a really interesting conversation. Because so for us, right, like Accidental Business Owners existed on its own channel. We've brought it in, but for us, it's kind of like another thing.
Yeah,
right? Like I've got the Reflections business, we've got the main podcast, we've got ambassadors, we've got Accidental Business Owners, and it's a really important part, but it's still like it needs its own, it's another thing, but it needs its own energy and attention and plan. And
it does, because, you know, one thing we've kind of touched on is I've got a few thoughts around, like, you know, accessibility if people just want to listen to Accidental Business Owners, you know, and there's a few things like that I want to talk about, but it would be really good to be like know that we had a direction for that. But this is not a conversation about Accidental Business Owners. This is a conversation because Accidental Business Owners, ambassadors, and the main podcast sit under the umbrella of Between Two Beers podcast.
Yep.
So I want to be really clear on like what the goal of that is. So to me, we have got a bit of a direction. You know, we have talked about, you know, the storytelling element, and we've got all of that, but we want to make sure that that is then bled through into what we're doing in our 100-day projects. And I think that strategy of how to get there. So if we know where we want to go and that's super clear, what's the strategy to get there? And I think that if I was to look from the outside, that's a little bit of the piece of the puzzle that I think we might be missing. Not because I don't think you're doing enough, but because you've had so much to do. But it's like, and with what you've learnt with working with Kaylee, if you had 2 seconds to stop and pause, what would you want to do?
Well, I've written these down. Like I want to just read these out, and then you can sort of pull them apart and see what I'm missing. Perfect. Because I think that I thought I had done that, but maybe I haven't, and maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way. So I've got a number for revenue. I've got 250,000 downloads per month for the podcast. I've got 200,000 followers across social media. I've got 30,000 subs on YouTube. I've got a Hamilton studio and office. I've got 5 solo keynotes for me to deliver without Seamus. I want a full-time EA. I want a full-time producer, and to produce 1 piece of personal content per week.
Perfect. Why?
Why what?
Why do you want any of those?
I think all of these things will signal growth. I want to continue growing the podcast to provide the financial means to support my family, but also because I love doing it. I love growing it.
Yeah, perfect. So I want that to be your top line. So, you know, when we talk about 1,000 days, it's like you need to be the question around 1,000 days is, what are you known for and by whom? I need you to have that in a top line. I need you to have that written down so that every day you know exactly where you're going, because I think that will be your North Star in making decisions. It's like you're New Zealand's top storytellers, you have one of New Zealand's top podcasts, and you're an incredibly profitable and successful business. Kind of wraps all of that together. Your most trusted storytellers, blah, blah, whatever though. Do you know what I'm saying? So once we have that headline, then it's like I think you're right. I think the ecosystem of that is, you know, we want to go from here to here. And that's the measurement of it. But at the moment, it feels like a little bit like they're almost sort of standing on their own. And it's like the strategy above that is, well, because we want to go, you know, our income from here to here, then we need to move all of these things up. This is our measure of success. And I think you've got that, but it's almost like they're standing on their own without kind of like the heart behind it.
What's an example? I'm struggling a little bit to know what an example of a goal you're looking for would be. Doesn't have to be accurate, but what do you mean?
I think your goals are about right, but I think the strategy piece is missing for me.
Okay.
In what we've talked about is like, it's almost like I think you understand the ecosystem, but it's like, when we talk about marketing, it's like why do we want to do that? What's it going to do? Are we trying to increase our sponsorship? Are we trying to increase our reach there? Are we trying to get more listeners? Are we trying to build a personal brand? What is it that we're actually trying to do?
Yeah, marketing, it's sort of come back to me now. Like I have had a number of conversations with Marcus about our marketing strategy, and the thinking is that we're kind of in the age of where the follower count isn't as important anymore, and it's going to become irrelevant, and it's all about the quality of the content and this concept I think it's called true fans, and the people that are going to be your raving fans, your cheerleaders, these are the ones that are going to tell people about you and help you get new listeners. So a big part of our strategy has been trying to build community, and we've got this like private Facebook group that we're trying to be more active in. We're doing like a live show coming up to bring people together.
Where on this list does it say increase the engagement of our raving fan?
Yeah.
That's the piece.
Yeah.
Because all of these are like numbers in isolation. Yeah. And remember when I said it's like the heart's missing? Mm. So you have got the strategy. It's just so...
Yeah. Drawing that out.
Yes.
That's so good. Yeah.
Yes. And sharing that with, God forbid, your advisory team and the people that you're actually taking with you. Yeah. So when we talk about leadership, when we talk about the role of a CEO is very unique because it is the sandwich position. You are the filling of the sandwich because you're leading, your team and everything else. You've got to have the strategic vision. You're answering to your advisory board, and you're kind of like this meat in the middle. Mm. And there's no getting away from it. But you need to understand that strategy, that why, that heart better than everyone. And if, when we talk about Kaylee and how he's communicated that and the planning of that and all of that stuff, the same thing needs to happen with the podcast, is just quietly making sure that there's a more cohesive communication or, documents and stuff to be leading towards those true goals.
Man, I was just been thinking about, I had this chat with Marcus about how important it is to try to develop this Facebook page. So we've got like 3,000 like true fans in this closed off Facebook group. And I made a post a while back and it's like, hey guys, we haven't been that active here, but we're going to make a real push to be present more. And I did a few posts and then it was only me. And I talked to Shay about it, but hadn't really kind of brought him along on the importance of it. And it's like, fuck, this is just going to be me doing it. Like, it's just another thing I've got to do. And then I kind of lost steam on it. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, I need to get other people to help do that for me. It will be me to a little extent, but bring someone else in to start populating that. It can be in my voice and my tone, but outsource it. Because in my mind, it was weighing me down of it's important, I know, but so is everything else. And it's another thing for me to do and getting disgruntled because no one else is doing it. Yeah, no one else is going to do it.
Welcome to the real world. No one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
So my feeling is that the way you read out your goals is they all have equal importance and they're all kind of part of the ecosystem. But as soon as we got to the, hey, followers aren't that important, yet we are measuring the followers. Mm. So we've had a change in strategy, but it's not reflecting in our goals.
Yeah, man, it's a bit of a smack over the head, eh? Followers are irrelevant, and my goal is I'm going to double our followers.
It's like, oh, great. God,
you're talking shit, mate.
Yeah. Well, I think this is what comes down to when we talk about the 10,000 days. That's like our North Star. When we talk about our 1,000 days, it's, who you're known by for what. So it's that really tangible thing that we are known as New Zealand's most trusted storytellers. It's something we can hang our hat on. Then it comes down to, well, how do we measure that? What does that mean? What does that look like for us? And then it's really getting granular with that and making sure that we're not losing the very essence of who you are in terms of being amazing storytellers, being the most trusted. Those are things that aren't just numbers. They are just a feeling and a soft skills around your goals, but they are the thing that are most important.
Yeah.
And it can be, like if I said to you, what makes you the most trusted storytellers? It is that you carve out time and space before you sit down with somebody. It is that when you sit down with somebody, it feels like you're just either at the pub or in their lounge. It is all of those things. And so that's where the quality comes in. And I'm not saying that the goals are necessarily wrong. I just don't feel like we've got the direction tangible enough for my liking.
Yep.
And it's not about me.
Yeah.
So, and like, if you've been listening to us for a while, I'm going to keep harping on about this until I'm blue in the face. Being New Zealand's most trusted storytellers requires you and Shay to have a personal brand.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of the one I had about doing some keynotes by myself. We sort of spoke in the other episode about I don't know if I can see what's going to happen, or I've got visions or dreams for the future, but I can see what's going to happen with Seamus. I think you made a comment maybe last year. Maybe it was in the episode when you sort of teared up and you're like, oh, I can see what your next 5 years is going to look like.
Yeah.
And when he did the All Whites game, the All Whites commentary, I was inundated with messages to me about what a good job he was doing. And we got this really nice email from someone saying like, oh, your commentary was so good. Like, New Zealand football has needed like another commentator alongside Piney to like lead us to for the next decade. Like, we've found it. And we read it together when it was in the office, and I was like, my man is going to have lots of opportunities ahead of him, and being the talent is his greatest strength. So it's kind of like encouraging him to go and do that because he loves it, while managing, hopefully keeping the podcast as well. I don't know if that's how I should be thinking about it. Hopefully keeping the podcast as his priority, because it needs to be for me, but what if it doesn't for him? What would
stop it being his priority?
Okay, here's a scenario. He goes to the World Cup next year and commentates World Cup. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think he's got a decent chance of doing it. Yeah. They're like, fuck, he's good. Yeah. He's really good. Yeah. Someone makes an offer for him to commentate the English Premier League. Yeah. Some scenario where, shit, this is an incredible offer. He's got a really difficult choice to make.
No, he doesn't. You just get smart. I have, in the last 18 months, I want you to write this word down, and we're allowed to have ands in life. When that choice comes up, then we just look at it and go, how do we make this work? You'll just have to do it differently. Yeah. You're capable of that.
I want it to work like that. That's the funny thing is that.
So then what's your job in this?
It is to support him to do what he wants to do.
Yeah, and in making sure you're looking after your resource. Like, that sounds really clinical, but Shay is a resource. And if you see longevity in that for the business, then you bloody nurture that. And you come to the table every time and go, that's an amazing opportunity. Now, how do you get to do that? And we get to do this.
Yeah. Been a big day of seeing the future.
Well, I think when I talk about the 10,000 days, it's not that it's going to take you 10,000 days to get some of this stuff, but it's just like a guiding North Star. And then your 1,000 days is a little bit more like professionally exactly who you are, what you offer, and who you're known by and for. And then your 100 days are like, actually, we need tangible shit going on. And at the moment with Shay, those offers aren't there yet. So we just keep his cognitive load down because he's gold being present, and we just work towards how do we keep working towards taking those task-orientated things off him. Because here's the the situation you have is Shay is incredibly good at detail and at tasks. But he also is incredibly good at being the talent. So long term, there's just a choice.
Yeah. I realised where I was going before I got swept up in that Seamus tangent, but I was leading towards, I could see he's building his personal brand better than me.
Yes.
Well,
but by doing the work.
By doing the comment, like he's got to the point where he's commentating the biggest All Whites game in 4 years, and he's on TV, and I'm like his biggest cheerleader. And then it kind of dawned on me, well, what about me? What am I? And we'd have these conversations. So I started posting on LinkedIn, and I was like, ooh, what if I can carve out, an hour every Monday to sort of introduce to share parts of what's important to me or what I'm struggling with, kind of like this, but on LinkedIn, like written, and put them in our newsletter. And man, the response to them has been unreal. Like,
I don't know who's been bleating on for about a year and a half about building a personal brand and doubling down on the things that you're really good at.
But as a result, like I think I've only done, I might have done 3 posts in the last 5 weeks or something.
I know.
And I hate it when I miss a week.
Yeah, good.
And it's, again, because everything else has gotten in the way. That should be that should be a super high priority, and I haven't made it.
Yeah, but given the last couple of weeks, this is where that priority comes in. I might miss this week, but man, I've got that scheduled in for Monday.
But as a result, like the opportunity and stuff that's coming in just from sort of 3 posts, like the engagement, 30,000 impressions
really
on each
annoying.
one. And it's like
I keep saying this week I must have said, Steve, you're really annoying so many times.
Yeah.
You are really annoying.
Okay.
So you see things really clearly for Shay. What do you see for you then? Can you see your next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
Good. Do that. Just believe with every cell in your body it's going to happen. Don't get caught up in it's a little bit busy this week. Yes, it is going to be. Deal with it. Look after yourself and get on with it. Because with every cell in my body, just like I can see it for Shay, I can see it for you. And it's possibly, like Shay's exciting because he gets to go on TV and everyone sees it. And yours is going to be a little bit more behind the scenes. And that's okay.
Yep. I can see it.
Good. I can too. And the other thing that you've been super annoying about this week, just while I'm whinging this week. The other thing that you've been super annoying about is when I say that you're a dreamer, I mean that in the best possible way. And you fixate on these things, and I go, no, you're not allowed them. No, it's going to cost you much money. No, you're not allowed them. And then you go and manifest them anyway. It's really annoying. But I want you to notice it. I want you to notice that you are very good at knowing what direction you need to go in and then manifesting it out of thin air. That's all.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about manifesting. I've got a bit of I've always been super logical and super sort of anti-woo.
Okay, do you want me to explain it in another way?
Yeah.
You have spent 5 years building incredible relationships, putting that at the forefront of what you do, and now some of those relationships are producing fruit that you couldn't have expected.
Yep.
That's as woo-woo as it needs to be.
Okay.
It's like you have put in 5 years of hard work.
Yeah. I see that every day, every week. It's unreal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now the fruits of that, so for 5 years you weren't a greedy, money-hungry arsehole. You just went, I want to do good work. I've just got a feeling about this. This is really
Yeah.
good. Shay's like, we'll never make any money out of this. You're like, yes, we will. You're just like deaf to his, reasonableness. You're just like, yes, we will. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Just keep going. Do good work. Do good work. Great relationships. Be super prepared. All the things that you've built the podcast on are just simply now the fruits of your labour.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to double down on that.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because you are so giving in so many other ways to other people, and you never ask for anything.
Except to play golf every week.
Yeah. I'm so supportive of that. It's so good. Because, you are. When things feel right and there's an opportunity, then you're really giving to people. You help everyone. So it's allowed to come back to you. It's just that you've been in such a growth mode and such a work hard mode. It's like, but also you have that dreaming aspect. So don't ever lose that. No matter who, no matter how many of us go, nope, you're not allowed a studio. It's going to cost too much money. And you're like, oh, manifest it out of thin air, you silly cow. Go you.
Yeah, the beer's next day.
Yeah. But all of this is, how we talked about, if we come right back, how we, how I said about the heart of the goals. It's like that strategic heart is like, unless you kind of frame that up, these goals feel isolated. So, where the beer sits is that Between Two Beers is a brand, and brands are allowed beer, apparently, because that's where some of that stuff fits. Yep. And so it's like, does this fit in here? Yeah, it does, because this is the direction that we're going. Does this support raving fans? Yes, it does, because we're all going to have beersies together. Yeah. I'm not, obviously. But anyway, does that make sense?
Yeah. Man, it's been a really cool day. Like we hang out once a month, right? Like we don't communicate as regularly as we used to.
Oh,
but
no.
when we come together, there seems to be real clarity. And one of the things I've been reflecting on the last couple of months is the importance of the team that we've put together to help us get to this point. Like what we spoke about in the episode last episode of Accidental Business Owners was such a revelation of the next chapter, and like actually talking about it and talking through it, that without someone like you, a mediator, a coach, I imagine so many businesses or business owners just get stuck and can't see the path and don't have someone advising them of the path. Like I just think there's
just holding up the mirror sometimes, just going, do you see that?
But I was speaking to my mum. So mum ran a business for 30 years, woman's physiotherapist. It was her own business. She was a one-woman show, and she listens to all of the episodes and she's like, I just think it's so great because I never had someone like that. I imagine what could have changed or how I could have done things differently if I had a mirror, if I had someone to sort of guide and advise. So, yeah, I mean, we have brought you in, but I feel so fortunate to have you and Maddie and just helping us guide it, and Marcus and helping us guide. So
it's fun. It's a fun ride, and that's what I mean though, is that you are capable of bringing together a gorgeous team, and you're very generous in the benefits that we get as a team. So it's a two-way street. I'm always really impressed, Steve, that you just lean into the conversations. It's like sometimes there's sticky points, and you're like, don't get it, Di. Tell me what you want. It's like you're just never shy and going, tell me what you want, and lapping it up, So I'm always super proud of you for that. I've said a couple of times today about the 10,000 days. Look, 10,000 days is 27 years. That's not the important bit. It's the fact that it gives you a North Star. Most people will do the 10,000 days a lot quicker. But the point about the North Star is it kind of gives you a direction, and that's super important. And when we look at our 10,000 days, it becomes really simple about what's important. I did about 55 of these with clients in the last half of last year. Thank you, boys.
You're welcome.
It was a lot. And, you know, we're not all that different. You know, what we want in 27 years is to be here, to move well, to have the resources to be making memories with our family, to have great relationships with our kids and our partner. And none of it's particularly complicated. And then out of that, it's kind of like, actually, there's a few things that I think would be super fun to do in my life. And it's like just dreaming enough to just go, let's give that a go. And then, you know, the 1,000 days comes down to just being far more practical in a professional sense about, you know, who you are and what you're known for. And it's just, honestly, this exercise is not that important in terms of goal setting, but incredibly important in terms of direction and checking in with yourself. Just like when we looked at your goals today, it was kind of like there seems to just be that heart missing out of it as to how it connects all together. And I think that once you get the connection piece, then these goals take on a new meaning. And I know that what you're going to do now is you're going to go back and look at them and go, yeah, what's the important bit? That's right, engaged raving fans.
Yeah.
And then we tweak it again.
Yeah.
So it feels absolutely on pulse. Well done.
Good job today, Di.
Oh, thanks.
See you next time.
See you next time. Hey, good session. Just thinking about the next couple of months, we've talked about fine-tuning some of those goals. One thing that's on my mind that's coming up is our next advisory meeting. Now, I know that you're not like in charge of running them, but I definitely think as CEO, you need to have a very significant input into what gets discussed there and why. Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about, you know, the strategic stuff, I think that's a piece of the puzzle that needs to be discussed, brought along, even if this is the work that we've done. And is the advisory board happy with this direction? Because as you look at maybe increasing marketing spend and things like that, it's just making sure that everyone's on board. You know how we talked about taking everyone along for the ride?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a thought. Also, when we talk about, you know, like increasing, you know, support people and things like that, it's great to kind of have it consolidated in one place to say, hey, look, this is the direction. This is where we think the next phase will be, especially with the massive goals that you've ticked off now.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Sounds good.
Perfect. See you later.